Hi, today we're going to talk about financing, and I'm going to do everything but answer the question. So here we go. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the owner broker of Grand Rapids Realty. I really am committed to provide service to clients, and I'm also really concerned about that you don't overstep your bounds and that you really do some work here regarding finance and how to do that. So there's sellers and buyers. And then do you have to sell before you purchase is one of the questions that you should always ask a seller. And it's really important also to reference how long that individual has been in the community and how long they're going to be here. And only because it's like, you want to tell the truth. Imagine that. It's like, what my personal recommendation is that if somebody just moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, as much as I love this city and as much as I know this city, you might want to even share with them, think about renting for a year. That's a spoonful of advice that a lot of people give out just to have that individual, rent for a year and figure out the city. Also, it's like it might give the individual an opportunity to really know what's going on in that area. So, yep. How long have you been here? What's your plan? What's your story? It's like, I talked to a gentleman the other day that they're moving up from Virginia, and he works for Myers. He's in the meat department. He's hopscotched around with Myers in all kinds of areas, and he wants to buy. I mean, he's very committed to the city. He's been here in the past, found out that he was here in the past, and he just wants to buy a house. So he's a shoe-in, and he wants to go, man, go. So we're going to get him a house. How much do you want to invest into a property is a really good question. If somebody has to sell before they purchase, it's like you can ask them about their down payment. A lot of people, they have that, information around financing. It's really important. You might even ask somebody, have you consulted your tax person? I mean, I just want to get an idea that you've done some research, and I want to make absolutely sure that I've done a thorough job. It might not even really be important to that person, but it's like you can at least ask the question. You can at least ask them, how much do you want to invest? Or if they're renting a property, it's like, do you want your payment to be about where you currently have it? Right? Here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, it's not unusual for someone to pay $1,300 or $1,400 a month. And then, so here's how I would start this conversation, right? This is about financing, right? If they've already got a mortgage, right, it's appropriate to kind of ask, it's like, what do you want to invest into your next property? Do you want to keep your payments about the same? That's a really good place to start. And then there's that other conversation. What do you have that you like about your current situation? A lot of people that I talk to, they want what they have and a little bit more. Is that you? And have you been to a loan officer and received a pre-approval letter? Some people might say, well, why is that important? Or it's like, I just want to know how much my down payment's supposed to be. Well, have you talked to your tax person? That really depends upon you. You understand the circle that you're kind of running around here? It's like you want to make sure that you get the financing question answered, but at the same time, you have to identify, are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a seller and they're looking to buy? Do they need a bridge loan? Let's talk about that a second. Do they have to sell before they purchase? The market here in Grand Rapids, Michigan is pretty quick right now. I'd recommend strongly that we're going to get back to that pre-approval thing. But in addition to a pre-approval letter, if somebody owns an existing piece of real estate, you also want to send them along and make sure that that loan officer has information that they need a bridge loan. Or at least that they get educated on how much money that's going to cost. Because in some situations, it's terrible right now to try to get a seller of a property to wait for you to sell your home so they can purchase, because there's a lot of folks that are just, they're not even doing financing, they're just writing checks for properties. So, and that's about 2% of the folks out there. So a pre-approval letter is really important if you're purchasing, and you can make a transaction subject to the sale of a piece of property. If they're a purchaser and they have nothing to sell, that pre-approval letter is really important. Get them to a loan officer. Let that loan officer work that out with that individual. And here's what you should share with that individual, the buyer of a property, about a pre-approval letter. This is the truth, by the way. You don't have to have a pre-approval letter. We can make an offer today. Matter of fact, you know, Michigan law states if you want to make an offer for $1, it's like, I have to present that. Do you want to make an offer for $1? Well, most people don't, because you're wasting their time and yours. But all offers shall be presented. And it's your job as the real estate professional to take and make sure that the seller got educated, and that any barrier along the way, that you educate that individual. A conventional mortgage in many cases closes a little bit quicker than an FHA. There's less contingencies regarding a conventional mortgage. And if you can get a proof of funds letter, a pre-approval letter, to state that it's a conventional buyer with 20% down in the price range that this individual wants to buy. So it might be a little bit more helpful, because come on, a purchaser that's looking to buy something, you want to make that individual feel or look as strong as they possibly can be, right? And the time that the individual is going to close on that property, it's like if it's longer than 35 days or 45 days, a lot of sellers, they just want their money. They're from the show me state. They don't care about, they care about themselves. So that pre-approval letter, getting them to a loan officer, is really important. Let the loan officer work their magic in regard to the types of financing, because some of this is really sophisticated. Now, do you need a pre-approval letter? Well, not technically, but I'd sure get one if you want to get something accepted, my opinion. It's like, so there's the purchase agreement, and along with it comes the pre-approval letter from the lender. Some people say, well, how long is this pre-approval letter good for? It's a conditional commitment typically. A pre-approval letter, in a lot of cases, they're not really worth much, in my opinion. They're contingent to the appraisal. They're contingent to underwriting. They're contingent to many, many things. I mean, it's just educational. Why don't you read a pre-approval letter? There's a bunch of real confines regarding the teeth of it. Now, everybody wants to see the number. Tell your buyer that they're to get a number on their pre-approval letter. Please, you can get a pre-approval letter with no maximum sales amount number on it. I don't recommend it. People are from the show me state. They think of it. A seller that wants to sell their home, they have hopes and dreams and expectations about their next purchase, and they want to know that the buyer is approved for the amount of money that's on the letter, and they want to close as quickly as possible. There's an inspection contingency, plumbing, heating, electrical, structural, radon. After that, it's like they're just tapping their foot waiting for the appraisal to get done, and they want their money. So, and if there's 5 offers, they're not the seller of the property that's picking out the buyer. They're interviewing folks, and they're going to pick the strongest individual. So, don't be afraid to take and pick up the phone and communicate with the loan officer that loan officer is going to call the agent. Is there anything that we can do to make this stronger? Have the buyer talk to the loan officer, and maybe you can even get the loan officer to call the real estate agent, because we want to make the buyer look strong, right? Makes perfect sense. So you might even get asked about financing information. What are the rates? You know, you're on the phone, you're talking to a potential customer that's looking to purchase a property, and they're asking about, well, what are interest rates? That really depends upon you. There's so many types of financing today. It's like there are FHA mortgage, there are conventional mortgages, and that ranges. It really depends upon you and your credit score. I want to make sure that you're taken care of. I want to get you the very best rate that is available, and I want to set you up with a loan officer. Typically, what's the best time to get together for you? I'll have my guy call you. Is Monday or Tuesday better for you? Do you get that? Put them on the hook. They're asking you a question about what interest rates are. Don't screw around with that. It's like that's an opportunity to set an appointment. And my recommendation is that the purchaser have an in-writing pre-approval letter with a number, the maximum number of the home that they can purchase. Now that doesn't, I'm approved for $500,000. There's just no way that I would ever, not at this juncture, get a mortgage for $500,000 and go buy something that's $500K. But the pre-approval letter might say $500,000. I'd be proud to take and put that in front of somebody that I'm looking to purchase their property. It shows strength. And I want to look strong. There's other offers that you're competing against. Do you want to appear weak or do you want to appear strong? My recommendation is that you get that individual in front of a loan officer, and my recommendation personally is that you put a number on that pre-approval letter as high as you possibly can, and you talk to your customer about that very story. Hey, my broker, he's approved for $500,000, but he wouldn't purchase that. I mean, all we want to do is show strength, and that's a strategy. You may disagree with my strategy. Don't do anything that you don't want to do. That's just my personal opinion. What is your current payment? We covered that. What are rates? What's the best loan? You've been selling real estate for 30 years now, and I just want you to ask you, Mr. Ross, what's the best loan that I could possibly get? Depends upon you. Depends upon your situation, your credit score, how much of a down payment that you have. It really just depends, and I want to make sure that a professional takes care of you, Mr. Buyer. We need to get an in-writing pre-approval letter for you. That's my opinion, and I want to present that along with your offer. I just want to make sure that you're taken care of. Well, I don't want to take and get a pre-approval letter that expires. A lot of those pre-approval letters expire in like 60 days. Yes, that is true, Mr. Buyer. And here's what I have to say about that. Get one anyway. I can get over that objection, typically. And then here's how I do this. If you've taken the time, Mr. Buyer, and you went to a loan officer and you've showed them all your financial information, what your payments are, where you work, how long you've been there, they'll pull a credit on you. It's like, has anything changed? I mean, like in the next 6 months, do you see anything that's going to change? Are you going to buy any new vehicles or anything? And if you did, we would just disclose that at the time. Even though you've got a pre-approval letter that's expired, you need to have that. Because, in my opinion, because if you're going to write an offer on that property, I can get by the expiration of that because I'll write it in the purchase agreement, and we tell the truth here that the pre-approval letter has been expired, but please just give us 12 hours or 24 hours to get a brand new one. I mean, this gentleman, I would say this to the agent, this gentleman just didn't have time to get an updated pre-approval letter. He's got a pre-approval letter. I asked him personally if anything changed. He said no. Please just give me the benefit of the doubt, and I'll get you a brand new shiny pre-approval letter within 24 hours. And if you're thinking straight, it's like you can even call the loan officer, right? And then have the loan officer update the pre-approval letter over the phone. There's a way around every objection. Use your noodle. Get in there and do it, right? My credit score is too low. I talked to a loan officer, and I went and tried to get a pre-approval letter, and he said that my credit score was too low. And I said, well, when does that clear up? That's what I would ask the purchaser. Huh? When does that clear up? How long do you have to wait before that payment falls off? Have you got any credit counseling and talked to a loan officer in regard to what you need to take and rectify that? All things go away in time. What tentatively is the time frame that you're having to wait until that bad credit score falls off and you get to a place that you can buy a house? Think about that. I mean, this is pin the tail on the donkey time. Get with that loan officer, provide that customer service, and have that customer get some type of time frame. Let them dream and look into the future. Past, present, future. Everybody's had mistakes. I make them every day, right? I got some horrific stories. Doesn't stop me because it's the past. We want to talk about the present. Get them to dream about their life, their hopes, their dreams, their family. For gosh sakes, you're the best thing that ever happened for the economy, by the way, if you're a licensed real estate agent in the state of Michigan. Think about this. Anytime that a property is sold, you get to generate paint, carpet, roofing, siding, windows. I mean, it goes on and on. It's like you help the economy immensely just by selling a home. I believe in home ownership. I believe in paid home ownership. It's a place, a house is nothing more than the storehouse of wealth. Pay attention to that. And it's my opinion that I think the interest rates are going to rise in the future. What an opportunity. I don't know the future, but that's my best guess. What an opportunity to have that customer lock into a really low interest rate right now. That's why you do your homework. You don't have to know all the information and the nuances of how to finance somebody. Not your job. Let a professional that's really, really good that specializes in mortgages do that, right? Why is that important? I kind of covered that. A pre-approval letter is important, in my opinion, for credibility, and that if anybody is looking to take and purchase something, you want to be credible. That's about what I've got here, and my name is Michael Ross. I'm the owner-broker of Grand Rapids Realty. If you found this informative, please share. And I really appreciate you watching my video. If you have any questions, you can call me, Michael Ross, 616-293-9757. Mike Ross, Grand Rapids Realty. Thank you very much for your time.